All right, this is game 3, Matticus versus Ryan. Yeah, Ryan is 2-0 up. It is actually, it's not a best of 3, it's best of 5. Best of 5 we're playing. If it were a best of 3, he'd have won, but it isn't. It's a best of 5. So, smack talk this early, straight in with the smack talk. I don't know how I feel about that. I think I actually like it. Yep. So, yeah, indeed. Or maybe it wasn't smack talk. Maybe Ryan typed in GG at the start. Some people do greet with the GG. They just, have a good game, I guess. But normally we take GG to mean I'm tapping out. So maybe it wasn't so much smack talk. Matticus just checking that Ryan wasn't about to tap out this early. I hope not. So both players, with very standard openings. Eternal Empire is a big enough map. As previously mentioned, it's very straightforward to hold your natural. Anything coming in has got to come through here, and siege tanks up here, and maybe a bunker here or whatever will hold just an enormous amount of stuff. It is relatively okay as well to defend a third with units positioned here, ready to cover the entrance to your natural, ready to move into position against anything coming this way. There is, of course, the option to attack from 2 fronts. So in general, what I like to do is once the third goes up, I'll put a few structures in place to narrow this down. If I've got a couple of structures across here, a couple of structures up here, essentially a bit of a wall, maybe not a complete wall, but a bit of a wall, just so that nothing can run in and just ruin my day. A few supply depots and maybe a couple of barracks or whatever. So that, yeah, if nothing else, if a big push comes, it means no harass, no Hellions can just run in and do what they like. And if a really big push comes, yeah, those buildings may die, but that buys you a lot of time for you to move forward, get your siege tanks into position and all of that sort of stuff. So a pretty early scan here for Ryan. And let's see what that's revealed for him. Not a great deal, really. Only sees this Rax building. Safe to assume that the other Rax is already up. Matticus at present has no intel. And that's certainly a criticism I could make of this match so far. There hasn't really been much scouting. Yeah, there's been a few scans thrown down, but there's nothing quite like getting into your opponent's base and having a bit of a look around. And Terran are in a good position to do that. You don't need any add-ons or anything to build a Reaper. 50 gas at the start of the game gets you a Reaper. That Reaper is so fast, it's very unlikely to die. If you just dive in here, have a quick jaunt about, have a quick look around, maybe throw a grenade in the mineral line and run out again. You get a full picture of what your opponent's doing, not just the center of a scan. You get to come in, have a look around, and get out again, and you can do that quite a few times with the Reaper. You can just jump back in again. So is Matticus going to go for this quick third again? It looks like he is. The SCV is in position. Doesn't have the minerals for it just at present, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so natural is about half done for Ryan, and is a little behind Matticus in that regard. We've just got 2 racks here, combat shield being researched, and the reactor barracks able to pump out marines 2 at a time. Yeah, Ryan perhaps about to be supply blocked. I don't see a depot in production, so yeah, he is going to hit the supply wall pretty quickly there. The scan for Matticus sees the 2 racks, sees a handful of units, doesn't see much else. At 4 minutes, over 4 minutes, you'd kind of expect there to be a factory at the very least, probably a starport, but those things aren't in evidence yet. But if we look in Matticus's base, it's remarkably similar. Matticus has, however, found the minerals for this third and is going to get that up as soon as he can. So, combat shield just finishing up for Ryan. And yeah, I don't know, a little hard to tell really based on previous form and based on what we're seeing, what type of game this is going to be. I mean, so far it's sort of been Matticus that's been the aggressor. And if at first you don't succeed, try try again and all of that, and has managed to close out the game with sort of pushing through the front door. So I'd like to see Ryan get up in his opponent's face, get something done. This scan sees the entire army. Whether he knows it's the entire army or not, of course, is a slightly different thing. You can see that Ryan at present's got a slight army advantage, slight, not that significant, but slight. They both have similar production ability. The factory here for Ryan almost done. The factory for Matticus not very far behind it, and it is going to be Ryan. I've done the scores the wrong way around. It is going to be Ryan that moves out. So what is this going to be like? It's 27 army supply against 24. There are not siege tanks on the high ground. +1 is almost done. Yeah, there's quite a few marauders in here. There's quite a few marauders here as well. So the marauder count is similar for both players. Combat shield, there is concussive shell for Ryan. You have to feel that given that the armies are both roughly the same size, that Matticus will have the advantage because his reinforcements will arrive. Ryan again fighting in this choke is not very pretty. Yeah, you don't want to fight in a choke, just you don't. So Matticus able to clean that up pretty handily. Now this is interesting, isn't it? Because look, those two armies were almost identical in size. If we look at the losses, if we look at units lost, you can see how much difference positioning makes. You can see the difference between being the person up on this high ground with your units spread out compared to being the person stuck in this choke. The preferable attack path is up through here and around here because you don't get funneled into that choke. Had he come that way as well, he would have found this base and been in a good position to snipe it. Siege tank in production for Ryan. Another barracks comes down, bringing him up to a total of 4 racks. He is still building workers, but I think the income tab is probably pretty heavy in favour of Matticus in terms of... I'm just so used to popping up those tabs, but actually you can see it down here. With that third up and mining. So if the siege tank is in a good position, and it is, it's in an excellent position, he should be able to see this off without too many problems. He has a much smaller force here, but this siege tank will make a really big difference. Again, it's slightly closer to the edge than I would like. I'd prefer it maybe here a little bit back, but it's not terrible on this occasion. It's not terrible, partially because his own units are on the low ground, and so he can hold his opponent's units at bay and force them to take a lot of damage from this. These Marines need to get involved as well. This siege tank gets a couple of shots off, so straight away all of these units are weakened. Snipe on this siege tank would be superb. He needs to move forward and think about that. Snipe the expensive siege tank, brilliant, does get it. You'll happily swap Marines for a siege tank. The siege tank, it takes so much longer to build. It's a tier 2, arguably it's a tier 2, maybe tier 3. Does it count as tier 3? I don't know. It's certainly a tier 2 unit. So in general, you're happy to swap units that only cost minerals for units that also cost gas. The game overwhelmingly, you tend to be limited on gas, not minerals. And if we look at the bank here for Matticus, that's very much the case. He's got 200 gas, but 2,000 minerals, so if he wanted to build a lot of siege tanks, he'd very quickly find that it was gas that was slowing him down. So in general, if you get an opportunity to swap an even total of resources, you'd swap minerals for gas anytime. You'll swap Marines for a siege tank. You can replace the Marines so much more quickly as well than you can replace the siege tank. So I'd like some sort of scouting here. I'd love to see Ryan investigate, did his opponent go the whole way home? Is he just waiting outside, as he actually is, to come in again? I'd love to see these other siege tanks moved into defensive positions as well. Somewhere in here is fantastic, covers this choke point, but isn't that easy to get to. More up on this ridge is also superb, but does need to react to this. This is coming in. These siege tanks just sieged up where they are would devastate this force, but there's no reaction here. The units are standing still. What are they doing? I don't know about this. This time it's Matticus in the choke, and we're just about to see how well that goes for him. Once these siege tanks start to open fire, they will obliterate this force in very short order indeed. So Matticus loses everything but this one marauder that does a bunk. So there you see the army supply. You can see that the units killed now is kind of evening up a little bit after that attempted push. Yeah, it was a slow reaction from Ryan, but he got there in the end. So, you know, everything here is great for defending this ramp. But look, you need to defend this, and you need to defend this. So move this stuff forward. You know, siege tanks here, 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 here. Brilliant. Covering this, covering this, covering an approach from this direction. Superb. You know, get that happening, please. Okay, let's have a quick look at the upgrades. So Matticus with 1-1 does mean that Ryan is lagging behind on the upgrade front. Has got this engineering bay, but nothing coming out of it just yet. If we look at the incomes, we can see that actually pretty even on minerals. Matticus with all of the gases saturated way ahead there. Ryan just needs to shuffle these workers around. Look, only 2 workers mining gas here with 5 workers of oversaturation. So both of these players floating a large number of minerals, and the reason for that is neither of them really have increased their production facilities sufficiently. You know, you've got to bear in mind every base you drop, you need to drop another 3 racks if it is going to be a marine heavy composition you're going for. You know, if you think that off one base you can comfortably run 2-1-1, you can have 2 racks, a factory and a starport. So off 3 bases you can comfortably run 6 racks, 3 factories, 3 starports. You have to kind of bear that in mind to continue to build those extra production facilities. Otherwise your minerals just spiral out of control, and you don't win any prizes for having a lot of money in this game. Okie dokie. So triple starport production, no less. The fusion core building, at present there are banshees, and presumably that is banshee cloak being researched together with, that's the rotor flight upgrade, I think, isn't it? So we're going to have fast cloaked banshees on the map fairly soon, and that could get quite a lot done. There is a turret over here, there's a couple here, none back here though, and none right here, so these banshees could just turn up here and annihilate that stuff. Also 3 banshees will deal with the turret. So interested to see how this goes. This siege tank positioning is kind of horrible, isn't it? Why not here? Just somewhere here, you know. Yeah, that's great, but look, there's the extent of the range. So, you know, a whole bunch of stuff can come up here and snipe this base, and it might, a drop in here would devastate, and we haven't seen many drops, have we? In fact, we haven't seen many medevacs from either of these players, and that's a shame, because medevacs sort of double the value of your marines, if not triple, maybe even 20 times. Who knows? I don't know whether the Viking response here is a fluke, if he's just decided I'm going to build some Vikings, or if he knows about these banshees. There are a lot of banshees on the map, and what banshees can't do is shoot things in the air. So these Vikings will decimate this fleet of banshees so long as they can see them. So Matticus looked like he was going to move. I think he is going to move. Look, that is a lot of banshee. I'm not sure I've ever seen so many banshees. People tend to build, you know, 2, 3, so that you can just one-shot workers and snipe stuff. You very seldom see anybody sort of build this number, but you know, all good. Let's see what they can get done. So they are instantly going to pick off this 4th. Yeah, you can see like actually how much firepower they've got. If I'm Ryan, I've seen this. You've got a lot of Vikings. You know, get those Vikings involved. 14 Vikings will gun this lot down very, very quickly indeed. When the Banshees cloak, just be ready with that scan. Matticus is also just going to move across the map with this bunch of stuff, and I'll be interested to see how this goes. Let's see what the defensive setup looks like. These siege tanks sieging up, the extent of their range is a little shy of the choke point, which isn't ideal. You want them covering the choke point. Again, I don't know how many times I'm going to say it in this cam, move them down here. So this lot will have a hard time coming up here and getting into position, but he can creep into this location without taking fire, so he can get his own siege tank set up here and then sort of push stuff through. He's got enough Vikings to see this off, and as soon as these turrets reveal the Vikings, the Banshees, these Vikings will go to town on them. He's going to have to drop a scan as well, though, if he wants this stuff to survive. There is another turret finishing up over here. So the Banshees, in the end, did get a reasonable amount done. Killed quite a few workers. You can see there's 21 workers have been killed here. But this is what you'd expect, like reposition, come up this way for sure. He knows that there's nothing over here. So, you know, this stuff all up here, it needs to move forward. You need to be in a position to defend your bases. Not just the men, not just the one that you start with, the extended ones, your second, your third, your fourth. You've got to move your army forward into a position to hold those. Otherwise, you'll lose them. So this stuff coming forward is basically going to be uncontested. The only thing here that's going to do any shooting is this planetary fortress. No repair goes down on the planetary fortress, which is a real shame because, again, you know, once you get repairing, planetary fortresses actually can kill a great deal of stuff. He's got enough Vikings here to wreck everything in the air. The battlecruiser won't last long against that many Vikings, but there's a lot of Marines on the ground, so what he wants to really do here is dance in and out with these Vikings. You don't want to have the Marines shooting you. You need to pull them back. But you know, the range on Vikings is very impressive. So these Vikings are going to clean up all the stuff in the air, and he does lose a few, but successfully pulls them back. So not really too bad at all. Needs to get rebuilding this base. Although, with that said, has got one building over here, has got one building over here, and I don't think Matticus knows about those. No, he doesn't. So what is that? Oh, it's a single SCV. So moving into this position, once he's in siege tank range here, Ryan should hold this pretty comfortably. That many siege tanks on the high ground, just, oh my goodness. I mean, that just tells a story. Did he kill anything with that little push forward? Maybe a couple of SCVs, but boy did he lose a lot. The units lost tab look massively in favor of Ryan. It's very unbalanced, that units lost tab. So just kind of goes to show you pushing into these defensive locations can be difficult. So you need to either have an overwhelming sledgehammer of a force in order to do it, or go around it. You know, have medevacs so that you can just lift everything up into medevacs, boost in here and get everything out as fast as you can. Yeah, you might well lose a medevac full of stuff on the way in. You might lose two, but if you've got enough of them, you should be right. The supplies are fast approaching maxed out. Army supply actually favors Ryan because he has fewer workers. So even though the total supply is in favour of Matticus, Matticus is at that sort of dream position of sort of between 65 and 75 workers, where your income is very robust indeed, and you can just keep rebuilding stuff. What you need to do once you get into that position, because once you're at 200 supply, you can't build any more units, is build production. Don't stop building those production facilities, so that if you lose all of this, you can rebuild it. He's shooting his own stuff there. I don't know why he's decided to pick off one of his own battlecruisers. So that if you lose your entire army, you can rebuild it much faster than your opponent can. Once you get to that point, you can trade armies. I don't know. The battlecruisers are going to jump on top of this, but there's a lot of Thor here. There's a lot of Marines. The Marines need to get in on the action. The siege tanks continue to pummel the stuff on the ground below. The Thors, the Vikings, though, just absolutely wreck those battle cruisers, and actually Matticus's army gets absolutely shreked. That was grim. So he's not going to try that again in a hurry. I like that. That's a wonderful thing. Obviously, siege tanks in siege mode can't shoot things that are close to them, so just landing the single Viking right next to the siege tank is able to clean it up. Pleasing. So yeah, as I was saying, you know, you're maxed out, you've got all this money, but look, you're still only building off 3 barracks. Well, you can build off 3 barracks at the start of the game with 1 CC. You don't need 4 grand in the bike for that. You know, 3 times as much stuff is what you need, so that you can just hold, so that you can go, oh, I've lost my entire army, but look how much money I've got. Just put your elbow on the A button and lean on it and instantly resupply and go, oh yeah, there we go. It turns out I'm building 20 Marines at a time or whatever. You know, you might think I'm exaggerating with statements like that. I'm actually not. You know, at the 20-minute mark, it's not that uncommon for a Terran playing bio to have the ability to be building 20 Marines at once. You know, with I've seen games where I've ended up with almost 20 barracks, some of which will have reactors and stuff. Yeah, that's what you need to be able to do, so that if you lose an army, you can rebuild it very, very quickly indeed, or end up with, you know, 7 or 8 factories churning out stuff, so that you can just lean on that T button, build 7 or 8 Thors at a time. So Ryan moves out. He has overwhelmingly the larger army. If we look at the upgrades, it's +2 attack, +1 armor for the bio, and it's 1/1 as well for the mech. I'd like to see faster upgrades, but it's not going to matter too much. Matticus doesn't know about this, I guess, and moves out. If these siege tanks siege up, he's got a chance here. With them unsieged, it looks like these Thors are just going to be able to push through. Yeah, without too much bother. Could always land the Vikings if it looked like he needed it, but in the end he doesn't. This Thor is begging for a repair. It's got 16 health. Bear in mind, as Terran, it's never a bad plan to send some SCVs forward with your mech army, just so that it can do repairs. Oh, the SCVs getting in the action. I thought they were going to focus the damaged Thor down. Not that it would matter. It doesn't look like there's anything left for Matticus, so he, you know, all that money in the bank, but you know, he does blink the battle cruisers across the map, and they can't, to be fair, fight this. The Thors and the Vikings would shred battle cruisers, so this isn't a bad shot. There isn't really anything at home for Ryan to be able to deal with this. So what you need to do in this scenario is you need to make sure you're going to stop the spread. Across the map, he's absolutely uncontested. What he could do is just lift up these Vikings and fly them home. If he does that, he'll deal with this. You know, meanwhile, he leaves the ground army to just clean up his opponent's base, and I'd like to see him do that, because at present, you know, you don't need to be losing this stuff. The Vikings fly pretty quickly; they will get across the map. Maybe he's thinking base trade scenario, and just, if I kill my opponent's stuff as quickly as possible, I'll be okay. But you know, if that is what you're doing, you need to be looking around the map for where that stuff is. Not just standing idle. So yeah, this is a bit painful to watch this stuff dying for no really good reason. You know, these units, these Vikings need to get home. They need to get sorting your base out. This stuff on the ground, these Thors need to be searching the map, need to be looking around for the expos that he knows are there. So yeah, so these battle cruisers had a good time. They've cleaned up most of the men. I don't see any production happening for Ryan. There's nothing in the tab there. Look at all this money. Look at all these workers. You know, start throwing down some factories somewhere over here. Matticus has gone for that. I know that's a horrible thing to watch. I don't ever want to see that happen again. So it doesn't look like he's got any Vikings left. Oh my goodness, no. Oh, please make it stop. But he's still got this very robust ground army. He still does actually have enough Vikings to take off and go and take on these battle cruisers. You know, the battle cruisers are damaged. This one in particular is down to 26 health. So, you know, might even get sniped by a turret. But, you know, where's the production? Still nothing in production. It is Matticus that is actually trying to get his production back. And again, Ryan not moving. You're not going to kill your opponent's buildings standing still in the middle of the map. You have to get up here. You have to kill this stuff. You know it's there. You know where it is. You can see it. So I'm not really sure why there isn't more happening here. Finally, Ryan does decide, I'm going to build a factory, I'm going to build an engineering bay, and that's probably a good thing. You could just surround this with turrets. Heaven knows you've got enough money. This stuff, where's it going? You need to kill this. You need to slay it. Maybe he's finally decided it is worth going home to to defend his base. Anyway, this stuff finds this expand and will wreck it, which is good. So those factories will never actually manage to produce anything. At present, it looks like Ryan has the edge. He's certainly got a big enough army, so the army of Matticus cannot hope to take on the army of Ryan. So, you know, there is a reasonable argument to say, well, under these circumstances, Ryan should just go and fight the army, because if you kill these battle cruisers, then Matticus has no choice but to tap out. While they still exist, he can, you know, potentially stay in the game and has some chance of actually achieving victory. So I'd love to have seen the Vikings just go and deal with these battle cruisers. This one will die with one shot. Yes. I'd also, given that the engineering bay is finished and you know your opponent has battle cruisers, I'd love to see there just be turrets everywhere. Just so many turrets. What I don't want to see is more standing still. Please no, please make that stop. So the 4 battle cruisers sweeping across are going to find these bases in the bottom right. Ryan isn't going to find anything because he's not moving. Come on, Ryan, what is it you're doing? He's building starports. I'm not sure that starports are what you need. You've got the army to do this. It's an 80 army supply to 24. You know, you can just kill your opponent's army. You don't really need production. You need to be getting these units and putting them to work. I'd also love to see some SCVs doing some repairing here. So, of course, Matticus is massively supply blocked. He's got all those battle cruisers, but he lacks supply depots. This seems like a little bit of an overreaction to that, though. Where did the battle cruisers blink to? Where did they go? Oh, they're all the way over there. Not sure about that. This one somehow manages to get caught out in the middle of the map. Does Ryan know about this? I don't think he does. He does not, but does find this one, and he's going to kill it. The battle cruisers don't really have an answer for that. They can't, you know, it would take a relatively small force now to pick these off. None of them are in great health. Wouldn't mind seeing Matticus trying to get a repair on those, to be honest. I'm not sure about building Vikings. You know, Vikings can't fight Thors. No hope of that at all. So this stuff finally goes down. That's the last CC. So Matticus will shortly be revealed, and in fact it's GG. And Ryan pulls again back, and it is now 2-1 to Matticus. GG.